Hey y'all, Bloodwing here, back to bring some grumpiness to the internet, and welcome back to Redneck Radio, the live stream where today you get an extra healthy side helping of pork chops. That sounds good. I haven't had any good pork chops for a while. Pan fried pork chops, not none of this baked stuff. Pan fried. As you can see, I'm by myself at the moment. Reason is usually on Tuesdays I would invite Muse. She would be my regular guest on a Tuesday. But Maddie tweeted out, I saw that Ronan was sick and she's been taking care of him. And uh, she also talked like she was maybe getting sick too. So I didn't want to make her feel like she had to make a choice between taking care of Ronan and being on the live stream. So, um, hadn't invited anybody. Mama Minnie out there, pork chops in a cast iron skillet. You betcha. That's the only way. That is the only way. So hopefully, something will happen here. We'll get a guest in it. Hopefully, before I have to take my pee break. Otherwise, you guys are going to be listening to silence for a while while I go. When that time comes, which it hasn't come yet. Update, and as you notice the title, no interview yet. Uh, Interview didn't happen and especially for those who don't have Twitter. Interview did not happen yesterday. When they didn't call by 1 o'clock, I drove over and found out that the lady that would have been doing the interviewing went home sick earlier that morning. So I told him I would slide back by on my way home after dropping my granddaughters off at school this morning. And so I did, and I talked to her. And now I guess corporate is getting involved and they're wanting to take a little more time on hiring this person because the last person they hired is still struggling. And I'm glad you're here, Mama Minnie. She said something to me. She acts like she really wants to hire me, but corporate's wanting to hire someone with experience with dealing with the lottery because they do a lot of lottery in that smoke shop. Now, I know Mama Minnie was done management in gas station for quite a while. My wife done worked at a gas station for a little while that done lottery. I'm sure it's confusing to learn, but it can't be that difficult. And I told the lady, look, if I can learn to do weight and balance on wide body jet aircraft, and those crew put their lives in my hands, trusting that I got it right, I'm sure I could probably figure out how to do lottery tickets. It can't be that hard. And she kept saying, well, it could be really confusing. And well, it's the old question of how do you get experience if nobody will let you do it? Right? We've all been there. But anyway, she does say, yeah, it's just buttons on a screen, Pop. That's it. It's not complicated. That's what I told her. Look, I'm a quick study and I've learned a lot of difficult things in my life. I learned to be a dangerous goods agent. I had to learn, I've had to learn all the different dangerous goods, how to handle each one. They all have to be handled differently. How to load them. They all have to be loaded in a different way. And again, the crews of those aircraft were putting their lives literally in my hands that I done my job right. Because if I didn't do it right, the plane might blow up or catch fire or something. If I can learn to do all those things, I'm sure I can figure out how to do freaking lottery. But it's corporate coming down on her. I guess the last lady's really struggling to learn. So they're pushing, she said, to let her get fully trained before they hire someone else. But you can tell by looking at her, she really wants to hire me, but corporate's kind of coming down on her. So I don't know. Cannibal Caretaker, they want someone with more experience than you. You have been around since before the first lottery. Probably. I know I was around before there was a lottery here in Indiana. Because we didn't get the lottery here until I was, well, they're celebrating 30 years. So I was 29 years old when the lottery started here. It's just silliness, but I'm still holding that. She says she does want to at least get me interviewed, but she's still sick. She talked like she might go home early again yet today, but sometime before the week's out, she'll give a call. And it's not like I do anything at any time. And and since Monday's passed, then I don't have anything interfering. I say that because Mondays, my wife and I switch. It's her call. She wants to switch on Mondays. I don't know why. So she takes the granddaughters to school in the morning, and I pick them up in the afternoon. The rest of the week, it's the other way around. I take them in the morning. She picks them up in the afternoon. In fact, she's on her way now to go do it. And yes, baby, you was around before the first lottery in Indiana. Yep. I just heard on the radio earlier today, they're celebrating 30 years of the Hoosier Lottery today. And I remember very well when it came out. It was actually pretty controversial, the whole betting stuff and all that. And it was a big deal. But now it's just people accept it as part of the background or part of life. Get me a sip of coffee here. But yeah, that's the update on the job. I mean, it's still out there. It's still possible. The manager is still very keen on hiring me, but she was kind of letting me know it may be out of her hands. That corporates getting themselves involved. So we'll see what happens. And if it don't happen, then I'll move on to the next thing. We'll see what else we can figure it out. Clinton Whitaker says, what do you think of Elizabeth Warren losing the meme war? Well, I haven't been up to date. I really have been staying away from Twitter a lot. I get on in the mornings and a little bit before I go to bed. That's about it. But I'm not surprised. We all know that the left can't meme. So, hey, not surprised at it. I don't know any of the details. You're telling me something that I hadn't heard yet, but I'm not surprised. Let's see. Mommy says main thing with Lotto is active listening. I told people to repeat what someone asked for. It's pretty foolproof. After that, hardest part is getting them to remember they can't play where they work. Well, yeah, and you know me, I don't play the lottery anyway. But yeah, I just can't imagine that it would be that hard. I mean, if I can teach myself, I'm self-taught, teach myself to make my own videos and put them on YouTube, I'm sure I can figure out how to punch a screen and get lottery tickets. It just can't be that hard. Clinton Whitaker says Warren set up. Sorry, my eyes are bad today. Well, they're bad every day, but Warren set up a whole entire group to do nothing but make memes, and no one showed up when they were supposed to. Yeah, I'm not surprised at that either, because they were probably all millennials. Sorry to you millennials out there, but that's the truth. Some of y'all just don't have the work ethic of some of the other generations. Certainly don't have the work ethic of my generation. So not all, hashtag not all. I know not everybody, is this in a group is the same. But it's true enough to the point that I'm not surprised. How about that? How many of you did I tick off? Huh? We'll get over it. Yeah. So let's see what else I got. Oh, I was fanboying a little bit yesterday. Trying not to, because it doesn't look very good on an old man like myself. But Cannibal Character. Hey, I take offense to that. It drives me crazy. My grandparents and parents were the ones that took forever. Like I said, not all. Um, it's no secret. You all know that I'm a fan of the channel Neebs Gaming. I know you worked your butt off, Mama Minnie. You're the hardest worker of all my kids by a long shot, and there's no doubt about it. That's one thing you do is work. And sometimes you put up with more stuff out of that gas station than I ever would. That's for fact. But anyway, during World War II, my grandpa single-handedly killed 30 German pilots. He was the worst mechanic in the Luftwaffe ever had. A nice one. Nice. But you know that I'm a fan of the channel, Neebs Gaming. I know you don't work for that gas station anymore. I'm not that out of it, kid. Don't make me have to come over there and smack you upside the head in a minute. You start. But so I was fanboying the other day because a couple of days ago. First, thank you, Cryptic. Are you testing it out? Oh yeah, maybe I need to talk about that first. Have a fear of speed bumps, slowly getting over it. Yeah, well, I'll give you an E for effort there, Cryptic. And speaking of, everybody remembers Saturday when I was getting bumped off of the stream every time somebody super chatted, and I did not report that. I figured, well, I can't be the only person to be having this problem, so somebody's gonna. I just don't want to deal with it right now. And I got an email from StreamYards telling me that they were aware that I had the issue, even though I didn't contact them, and then about a dozen others. So it wasn't a lot of people, but about a dozen other people were having the issue. And they figured it out, and it's fixed now, so it won't bump me off. But you know what? I couldn't help but think, that's good customer service. You sure wouldn't get that kind of response out of YouTube. That's for sure. They took the time, even though I didn't call them, and that it only affected about a dozen people. They still took the time to shoot me an email and said, "Hey, we know you had an issue, and we fixed it." And that's good. That's good customer service right there. I'm very impressed with StreamYards as a company so far. I wished I could afford to get the paid version because it has a lot of features I'd like to have, but I just can't afford that right now. It's not in my budget. Okay, but anyway, back to Neebs Gaming. The other day, one of the people involved, one of the people of the team, calls himself Simon. He's one of the guys on their videos. And I follow them all on Twitter. And Simon had tweeted that he had been without nicotine for 2 days. And I just tweeted something like, well, good for you. Keep it up. If I, having smoked for 47 years, I wished I had the gumption to do it right now. And then forgot about it. Those guys they're not PewDiePie big, but they're a pretty big channel. And I've tweeted at them before. They've never responded. Other people I know tweeted at them. They get a lot of tweets, I'm sure. They get a lot of people tweeting at them. And yesterday, he responded to me and was giving me encouragement to quit smoking, even recommended a book for me to read, and I told him I'd check it out. And it was very nice and very gracious. And I was fanboying so hard because I'm such a fan of the channel. I love their content, all of it. It's rare that they do something that I don't like. Very rare. It's happened, but not very not very often. So yeah, there was that, and I was trying not to show my fanboying. I just thanked him and smile emoji, and then sat here in my chair and squealed like a little 16-year-old girl. How to get chewing gum out of a person's hair? Cancer. Oh, Shio, that's dark. True, but dark. Oh, I think I'm going to have to turn the overhead fan on here today. It's not that hot outside, not that cold either, but it's getting pretty warm in the house. We don't have any shade trees here at our house, so the sun beats directly on the house from all corners. Uh, Mom A says, "What's the book?" I know someone else that could use that. I'll have to look in my Twitter feed and get it. I don't remember the name of it right offhand. It's a book that evidently has been around for a while, but he said it's a very good read. Um, but I'll look for it later. And let's see what else we got here. You don't want to sit here and listen to me go. I'm sure about that. And there we go again. Let me. Wow, it's really getting hot. Let me take just a minute. You're going to listen to about 20 seconds of silence while I go turn the ceiling fan on. I'm sorry, it's getting really hot. Okay, I'm back. I just haven't sat down yet. Oh, and try to get the earplug back in. As I said the other day, I've been using a different pair of earplugs because my other one broke. I really don't like these, and they're hurting my ears. So I've only got one in at the moment. Yeah, insert Jeopardy music. Sorry about that, but I was getting really hot, a little bit too hot. I have not recorded the gameplay for Redneck Trick yet. I'll probably do that tonight. I wanted to wait and see what happened with this job interview, and since nothing's happening, then I assume I'm pretty safe to go ahead and do it because I didn't want to record it because this one's going to take some effort because of the new ship and stuff. I got to record some extra scenes and different angles of the ship for the new intro and do the new outro and all that stuff. And so it's going to take a little bit and some more time. And I didn't want to do all that if I got to the weekend and had to work and couldn't, edit it and get it put out anyway. So, have it start up, but I likely tonight. If not tonight, then tomorrow night. But likely tonight, maybe even tomorrow morning. But probably tonight. I'm aware of the mission because I've played through it before with other characters. So I know this will be a climax against what's the bad guy's name? I've been Hakeev that OBJ's been up against, and there's a whole lot of pew pews. A lot of pew pews. The last episode didn't have very many pew pews, and it was a little slow going, but this has got a lot of them, so you got that to look forward to. So, anyway, what else we got? I keep watching, and I'm not. I was kind of hoping maybe Alex or somebody would show up out in the chat, and I could throw them an invite, but. That's okay. If it comes down to, I've done it before and I can do it again. If it comes down to just me yakking, I can do that. I can talk. I won't have a voice when I'm done at the end of 2 hours. But I can talk. uh, yeah, Jen, do you want to come on? I mean, there's not really anything going on. I'm just yakking out here, and we're just throwing stuff around, seeing what sticks. I'll shoot you an invite if you want to come on. Coffee. Sure. Okay. Well, just a moment, and I'll get that sent to you. Copy the thingamajabadoodle, and okay, check your Twitter. It be there. It be there. Let the Canadian in. Clinton Whitaker says, well, she's got an invite. Even though your heart's breaking, you must carry on. Yeah. Oh, I better switch over to StreamYard so I can watch for her to show up. And there's, boy, she's quick this time. There she is.
Okay, let me just
You must have just been sitting right on the button.
Yeah, once I realized that you were by yourself, and I was like, oh, okay, well, just in case he might need an extra hand, and I was like, well, I saw that you were playing 7 Days yesterday. I'm like, well, I got something I could talk about. I haven't played it yet, but
well,
how'd it go?
Playing 7 Days yesterday is kind of an overstatement. I spent way more time rebooting my computer and crashing than anything else.
Yeah.
I tried for 2 hours, and it was a multiplayer game with Dax and his brother and some other people. I tried for 2 hours to get in. The lag is not any better. And in fact, in some places it was worse. It spawned me in the middle to start the thing. And I was going into a game that they had already been playing a couple of days on. You know how on 7 Days when you first start, you've got that little buffer zone where there's no zombies around, so you can get going.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have that. And it spawned me right in the middle of the snow biome, and it was raining. So I start off running from lumberjacks from minute one, and it was almost night. But I quit out, and I fiddled with my settings, and I come back in. It was better, not perfect, but better. And run down the road some, but quit out, fiddled with my settings. Finally got the settings where it was somewhat tolerable, but it kept crashing. In 2 hours, the only thing I got accomplished was getting through the starting little quest line that you have to do. Make a stone axe, make a wood club, and they've changed that now. You've only got to make 2 pieces of the clothing.
Yeah.
And 1 wood frame.
Yeah.
That's all I got done. In fact, the last time I crashed out, I had just walked into the trader to do that last part. You got to see the trader is the last part. And the trader was less than a kilometer away. It was real close. And that was after 2 hours. I said, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing it. So yeah, playing's kind of a misnomer because I didn't get any playing done. I got a lot of fussing done. Oh, I was mad.
They really have to tweak the multiplayer. Like honestly, it's the biggest thing that they've fucked up. Because not everybody has like the gigantic computers, and I've got mine at the lowest settings. And forget streaming it. Like I still try. But, I stream it on DLive because at least it's a little bit lighter on the computer, but not by much.
Even single player, I'm sure I probably won't have any problem. On 17, I didn't have any problem. That's what makes me mad. I only get this lag on multiplayer. And that's stupid.
Yeah, it's the same for me. And it's not even worth it to go on sometimes because it
Yeah.
takes 10 minutes just to load in.
Yep.
And if you're lucky, you went out and you beat a boulder. Like I spent maybe 2 days playing with the team, making cobblestone because that was the only thing that was safe to do. And I just stayed in the base making cobblestone. Like I'd go out, grab some rocks, come
Well,
back in.
I told the guys, I said, I'm done. Look,
Yeah.
I have got nothing done. Nothing. I mean, by the time it had crashed 4 or 5 times, the only thing I'd got done was making my bedroll. That was it. It took me 4 or 5 crashes just to get to that part.
And the other thing too is the single player. Like, I mean, you can level it out a little bit, but it's still like Monkey was playing by himself this morning and he was shaking because like it's so difficult to get started.
Yeah.
When you're on your own. Like
Yeah.
they almost have put you in a position where you need the teams, but it doesn't work with the teams because, the multiplayer doesn't work.
I told the guys, I said, look, I'm done. I'm sorry. I love this game. I will probably play it single player, but I can't play multiplayer. And I hate that because I'd love to play it multiplayer with you guys, but it's not fun to just sit in a room and work the forge or whatever because you can't go out and fight because you're too lagged.
Yeah.
That's not fun.
Yeah. I mean, when you have to wait for someone, like, I mean, at least in the last server, somebody had got me a really good sniper rifle.
Yeah.
With the scope, and I had the same with a crossbow. So I mean, I didn't need to necessarily go far to like just sit there and shoot stuff. But I mean, that's duck hunt. It's not as much fun to watch if you're doing a stream. I mean, the most fun was me like shooting, teams with like stone arrows.
Yeah, and I do hate that, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I play a lot of games. You do too. I mean, for instance, Ark. Look at Ark. That is a gorgeous world.
Oh, yeah.
It's gorgeous world, but I can play it multiplayer with no more lag than I get single player. And I don't get any of this nonsense of dinosaurs being able to hit me from across the map like the zombies do in 7 Days to Die. I had somebody on the last stream that I mentioned that. I don't remember who it was. It's not important. Maybe they'll listen. Somebody say, well, that's just you problem. I don't have a problem. No, it's not just me. I've talked to many people, you included, Jen, that has the same issues. If you go on their message board, it's all over the message board. They're aware it happens. They're just not fixing it. And that's ridiculous because nobody else has this problem.
Well, I mean, they're all prepared for huge sales. And I'm sitting there like, okay, so you've killed 2 of your groups. You've kind of killed the single player. I mean, there's hardcore players who could do it, but let's be real, that's not everybody. Most of the fun I've had is teaching Sora about the devs game Ring of Fire. So she runs around buildings naked with this thing that sets everything on fire.
Yeah.
But that's completely cheaty. Like, I mean, you still want to play the game. You want to build your buildings. You want to try to make a fort, something that's impenetrable. I mean, like, there's elements to the game. But when you can't really play vanilla anymore, like I liked it more difficult too. I don't have a problem with getting more recipes. I mean, it's a pain in the dick, but you should be able to.
Even though it's harder, I probably won't have any problem playing single player. I'll just have to change my tactics and approach it. Okay, I got no problem with that. But when it's lagged out to the point where you can't even fight.
Yeah.
If you're facing more than one zombie, you're going to die because you can't do it because your screen's at a standstill. Or they're hitting you from all the way across the street. And that's not an exaggeration. You know it happens. They hit you from all the way across the street. No way they should be able to hit you. That's ridiculous. And it should have been fixed way long before now, especially like you say, they seem to be pushing this toward just multiplayer. And I had mentioned before, I used to be really big into the Unreal community, the game Unreal. Yeah. Not the engine, although it came from that game. But I'm not talking Unreal Tournament. I'm talking about the original Unreal. So a long time ago. And they had an issue when cable internet first come out because the cable internet guys could run circles around the 56K guys like myself.
Yeah.
And on our screens, they were just blurs. And on their screens, we were standing still. And it was a completely unfair advantage, you know?
Yeah.
And we're talking mid 90s. And they came out and had a fix for that, where they figured out some way to fix it to where everybody was evened out regardless of their connection. So now in 2019, why can't fun pimps figure out how to get to at least lower the lag and stop this amazing Stretch Armstrong zombies?
Yeah.
If it's not happening to everybody, then they need to be figuring out why it's happening, who it happens to.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, it's and I get it. I don't have a good computer.
Yeah,
I've got
me too.
I've got a 4-year-old laptop that was probably low tier when I bought it. You know, I wasn't planning on having a YouTube channel when I bought this laptop.
Yeah.
You know, and I was just using it to be online, you know, and to cruise online. That was it. But things happened, and I, you know, started a YouTube channel and all that stuff. So yeah, I'd really love to have a much better computer. So before you start telling me we'll get a better computer, you want to buy me one?
Yeah, right.
You want to buy me one? Because I'll take it.
Because even if you get a good computer, you're still going to want to put extra parts into it. Like, there's never just, get a better computer.
Yeah, Cryptic says, I have a good computer and I still lag. Yeah, some of the guys playing last night were saying, well, I get lag too. Okay, well, you got a top-end machine and you're getting lag. Imagine what it's like on my little laptop. Just imagine. This is not fun. I'm not having fun here, guys. Because they were like, well, calm down, don't get so mad. I'm not having fun. I was yelling at them. It's like, look, guys, it's not you. And I knew this was going to happen before I come in. That's why because I've been putting them off for a few times. They've asked me and I've begged off, you know, and because I knew this was going to happen. I knew it.
Well, part of the anger is the fact that you probably wanted to play with them.
I do.
You know, it's the same with me. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm tired of the game because I've played it for years, but like, you know, having the updates makes it more interesting. So it's like, okay, I can go in for at least a couple more weeks, you know, maybe spend another month on it. Keep it relevant, and it's good for streams because it's popular. And I have fun sniping people in the game. It's great. But then you go in and you realize that like I can only snipe when I'm on my own. Yeah. When I'm in the crew, I'm using exploding crossbow bolts for a reason. So it knocks the zombies down long enough for me to use my scope and shoot them in the head.
Yeah.
You know, that's not fun.
It isn't fun to just be the last game I played in 17 before they made the change to 18. I was pretty much relegated to just the room where the forge was and running the forge.
Yeah. If you were lucky, you could build a mine.
Because while the other person went out and done all the looting, which is not fun. And plus that means they level up twice as fast as I do too, you know, but I would try. I'd try to go out and bust some rocks, get some material, and I'd get creamed every time. And it's not just because I'm an old, slow sucker. No, understand, I've been gaming since there's been video games. Yep. My generation was the first video gamers. Understand that. And even though my reaction times are older and slower, I'm still a gamer. I do know how to game. I understand the games.
Yeah.
It's this freaking lag. Ugh. It just really, I'm sorry if I sound like I went off on you, but you brought that up. It was not a good time.
I'm sure it wasn't good for you. I was excited that I saw you, but like hearing that, I was like, so they haven't fixed it either.
I was yelling at the guys in the game. This isn't fun. This isn't fun. And I knew it wasn't going to be fun. And to top it off, they wanted me to come into a Discord call to talk. And you all know too, that Discord doesn't like my computer. So I had both of them fighting each other. Who's going to crash me first? God, I hate Discord.
Yeah, Discord's gotten worse over the years too. I find a lot of the big updates, it fights with a lot of my other programs. Like StreamYards has been great for my streams. Actually, I'm really happy with how
Yeah.
it comes out, because it comes out clear. You know, I'm kind of figuring out how to switch the screens. You know, so I mean, some of it's just going to take me a little bit of
Well,
learning.
see, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
When me and my friends have gaming sessions, I've been, because on StreamYard you can go back into old streams.
Yeah.
And I'll just use an old stream as a hangout for us to game. And it runs smooth as silk.
Yeah.
You know? But no, some people get the habit of Discord and they got to go back to Discord, even though I keep telling them it doesn't run good on my computer. It used to, but they done something to it now that it wants to crash it out. And the sound is always choppy. I spent more time repeating myself because it was, oh man, you really broke up there. Yes, I know. This is why I don't like Discord.
Yeah, and the random roboting, and like it's everybody. Like there's nobody in Discord who doesn't have a moment where and you don't even touch your settings from day to day. You don't even touch your settings, but you'll go into a Discord and it's just like all of a sudden it just doesn't work anymore. And then you tweak it a little bit and you tweak it back and you tweak it a little bit, and all of a sudden it's just the way it was before. And you're like, I didn't really change it, but it wanted me to anyway.
You know, I can use, like I said, hey, Mustafa. Hey, yeah, I can use my StreamYards, a past stream as a hangout, and it runs smooth as silk. So why go to Discord? And then you got all them. Do you have any idea how many channels I'm in? Because all my YouTube friends and all their subscribers invite me to channels, and I take most of them up on it. I haven't taken all of them, but I take most of them up on it. And I'm in so many, there's no way that I can get over and mute every channel that's popping up the little alerts while I'm trying to play. You know, the doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. It's just constant. I'm like, oh, gosh, I hate Discord.
I think the thing with StreamYards, though, is that you can only really get the 6 people. Like, I don't know, because I know there's stuff that you can pay for on the StreamYards.
I never play in a group bigger than that anymore. So
yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, for some of the streams, like if you're doing Quiplash or something, it's an 8-people game.
Yeah.
So you kind of need to have the space for the other 2 people.
I get that. I can get that.
But I mean, that's still,
if it's not necessary, if you've got another alternative. And Discord is very resource heavy.
Yes.
It's extremely resource heavy and shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It should not be. There's no reason why it should be, but it is. Yeah. If you look at your resources while that's running, it's gobbling it up.
Yeah.
And that's one of my pet peeves, though, is that you can't just go to the main part of someone's Discord server and mute it and it worked. You have to go into each and every little room they have, each individual room, and mute that room. That's stupid. I should be able to just mute them all. So I'm playing. It's getting choppy. I'm getting all these doo-doots, doo-doots, doo-doots while I'm trying to play. It was not a good time. I'm surprised. It's just happenstance that you even seen me, because generally, and I'll admit something here, I play games in ninja mode.
Oh yeah.
I will set it to appear offline, and it's not because I'm antisocial. Obviously, I'm not. I do these streams. I talk to you all the time and everything. But when gaming is my escape, and I just want left alone.
Oh yeah.
And I appreciate that I'm liked and I'm popular, but I guarantee you, anytime I go online and start to play a game on Steam and I forget to go offline, I get half a dozen people wanting to chat to me or join their game or whatever.
Yeah, that's why I don't ever approach you on it. Like, I'll approach you afterwards, maybe, but
usually, I had to go online to join the game, because it won't let you join a game while you're showing offline. Don't know why. It's stupid, but it won't. And plus Steam was taking me off anyway, because when I reboot it, it automatically shows online. I have to physically go in and set it offline every time, and I didn't used to have to do that. It isn't saving the setting. But no, that last night was not a enjoyable experience. Not because of the company involved. And if any of the guys that were playing listen to this later, it wasn't you guys. And I told you that last night. Wasn't you. I was mad at the freaking game because it's freaking ridiculous that Fun Pimps have not fixed this issue yet.
Well, I think when they start losing sales, because listen, I'm not going to give them a good review at all until they fix the problem. But I mean, look at like WoW. Like the release from WoW was crap. Let's be real. From what everybody that I knew who went into it, like the lineups were insane. The price wasn't really worth it. They basically were just like, here, just remember all the things about the game that you hated in the beginning that we fixed through our updates with all the stuff we put in it. Yeah, you got that back with this.
Well, last night when I started playing, because the person that was hosting the game was using the experimental. I'm like, why are you not using the regular 18 that's out? Well, it didn't download for me. Bullcrap. It automatically did it on mine. I opened up my Steam one day and there it was.
Yeah.
It automatically downloaded. Well, it's not for mine. So don't, it's okay. So I'll switch over to experimental, whatever. So I had to wait for that to download. Got in, and it automatically reset all my settings, all my video settings. Automatically. And it set it to the highest. It's called Ultra. On my laptop, and you're setting it to Ultra. Of course, I didn't realize that till I logged into the game the first time. And then when I couldn't move, I'm like, yeah, something ain't right. And so I turned it all the way down, the lowest setting possible.
Yeah.
The lowest. In fact, that's what it's called, I think, is lowest. To the point the graphics were so low you couldn't even read the signs. It was just blurred.
Yeah.
And I was still lagging.
Yeah, it's the same. And like it's almost worse a little bit because like the trees are so blurry. Like you're running around and you can't see anything with the trees because it's just it was the same for me.
But I don't. But and I know people that don't experience that, maybe they don't believe it, but it's not just me and it's not just my computer because I can play it single player on higher settings and I have no problem.
Yep. Same here.
It's only the multiplayer mode. Oh, and I'm to the point now that I'm just not going to play it multiplayer anymore.
Yeah.
Until they fix it. Because it's just not fun. It's not. And I know you guys with better computers that can run it without any problem and you're having fun and everything and maybe want to invite me, but it's not fun for me to sit there unable to move. It's not fun. I'm sorry. Not you. It's a problem on my end, I know, and because Fun Pimps can't get their act together.
Yeah, Manic Men was saying it's because more of the map is loading at once with multiple people. And I mean, that kind of makes sense too, but like, even if you're not joined to a group or something, like, yeah, you feel it.
Yeah. Well, there ought to be a way though. Well, like I said, you and I play Ark. Ark is a gorgeous world. And yeah, I've got some of my settings set low, but some of them aren't on Ark. I've tinkered with it till I got it running perfect.
Well, like even with Ark, like I mean, there were still some areas where I was fine. It was just like once you get to the size of, and I'm blaming you for this, functional, but your massive base with your 1 billion dinosaurs boinking each other all the time, and I imagine the amount of slaughter that went on for that was probably amazing too. Yeah, I couldn't go near your base without like.
Well, and I could play multiplayer on Ark with the only time I would get any significant lag is sometimes opening and closing my inventory. There'd be momentary lag. Yeah. Or if I was flying and I was flying over a heavily populated area, like you said, where somebody's base was, and was flying too fast, getting too cocky, and it might freeze up then on me. But for the most part, it runs just as smooth single player as it does multiplayer. There's no difference. So if a game that gorgeous and that big, where you've got multiple people running around in different areas of the map, can figure it out, why can't 7 Days to Die? That's my question. Because there's really no difference.
Later, Kyler.
See you, Kyler. Glad you stopped by, dude. I'm always happy that you stop by before you go to work, man. I appreciate that. But I don't know. You all are probably tired of hearing me rant about a stupid video game.
Oh, that's okay. I was like, well, I played Stardew Valley yesterday, and I was like, I've gotten into this mode where, like, if I'm playing on my own, sometimes I just use some mods for the fun of it. So I've got one for the tractor mod. Because if you're going to have a farm, damn it, you need to have a tractor.
Right.
Right? And I mean, it's a small town, so if I want to run around on a tractor, why not? But
I've actually done that in real life.
And then I have this spawner thing. So, I mean, I don't use it for everything. It's just for some stuff that is just like bullshit in the game to gather it. Sometimes I might do it. But there's this one little thing where I like to use the mega bombs because I'm a troll. So, like, I'll go into like the mayor's house, drop a bomb, wait until it goes off and leave.
Yeah. Cannibal Caretaker says art coders might be better coders than 7 Days. And they might be.
Yeah.
But if Fun Pimps is wanting to get out there and make a bunch of money off of this, or more than they already have, they need to take a page out of Arc's book and get some better coders. If they want to be, because Fun Pimps is making a legit push at being a legit game publisher with this.
The other thing with the Arc is they're actually competitive. Like, I mean, a lot of the guys who've developed mods for Arc, I'd say a lot of them were actually better than the game itself. And, it might have taken Arc years to figure that out, but they've incorporated stuff,
they make it very easy for you to use mods in Arc, They embrace the mod community, and and Arc isn't perfect. There's issues with it, sure.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about when we were playing on Ragnarok, and there'd be those areas where you're running around and the lower half of your body's underground. There's issues, sure. It's not perfect, but good Lord, at least you can play in this huge, gorgeous world without being lagged to a standstill. And so if they can do it, because they're really not any bigger company than Fun Pimps, they were a startup too. If they can do it, why can't Fun Pimps? I don't get it. I don't understand.
Like, I think they might be on a bit of an ego trip, because a lot of what they've done is really good. Like, I like the upgrades for the graphics. Yeah. I know that's not something my computer can handle, but I don't begrudge people for having a better, graphics card.
Right. Exactly.
As long as I can make it function. Honestly, I didn't have a problem with Minecraft because of the graphics. I had a problem with Minecraft because sometimes it kind of is boring, and the daylight thing is bullshit.
I don't mind lowering my settings because I have a lower end computer. I get that. That's part of it. I don't mind doing that as long as I can get it where it's playable and still halfway decent looking, know?
That's kind of where I stand with it. But at the same time, though, like, I mean, if your only choice is to play on your own because you can't play with your friends because they can't do what is probably an easy fix. Let's be real. What it is probably a really easy fix, and they're just not looking into it. Maybe it costs money or something. I don't know, but it sounds pretty stupid.
It's an issue they really need to get fixed because if they are, as you say, looks like that they're making a push to make this multiplayer only, then that's an issue that really needs to get fixed. Because that's going to affect the people that's able to enjoy the game, like myself and you. I don't know. I wouldn't be this upset if I didn't like the game.
Mhm.
I like 7 Days to Die. I really like playing it,
Yeah, I
and
love
that's
the
what's
concept
upsetting.
too. Like the concept is so neat,
Yeah.
especially for like the last 10 years of like what people have been into, like it's been a heavy 10 years of survival shows, and people want to test what knowledge they have based off of a game. And I mean, obviously you're not going to get everything in a game, but there's little things that they that looked like they could have tweaked that would have made more sense. Like even for the food, one of the things we said was like on one of our streams was what would have made more sense as opposed to like forcing you to learn a recipe for baking potatoes or boiling corn
Yeah.
would be like the evolution of food. Like, okay, your first time slaughtering a deer, if you've never done it before and you're a city folk
I mean,
person, you might not get a lot of meat out of it.
I understand it's game logic,
Yeah.
okay? And you got to give it a pass a little bit when it's game logic, because it's not going to make sense all the time, because it's game logic. But needing a recipe to make a baked potato, look, y'all know J Kid's my son, and the boy can't cook. I've tried to teach him, but he didn't want to learn. He can't cook. He has a 3-minute rule. You know what the 3-minute rule is? Anything he gets goes in the microwave for 3 minutes where it needs to be or not.
Yeah.
He can't cook, but I guarantee he could figure out how to bake a freaking potato.
Like,
even if he just threw the raw potato in the fire and seen what happened.
and here's the logic here. Like, if you can boil an ear of corn or bake an ear of corn, why can't you boil a potato?
Yeah.
If you're scared about like baking the potato, like you don't want to put it in the fire or something, you could still put it in the jar and boil it.
Yeah.
Or pot.
Here's a hint for you, game pimps. Here's how you make a baked potato when you don't have anything but a campfire. Find you a little bit of tinfoil, or shoot, even corn husks will do it. I've done it with corn husks. Wrap it in the corn husks or the tinfoil. Make a little hole underneath where you're going to build the fire on top of it, bake the potato. Perfect, delicious, yummy. Done it many times. Done it when I was 6 years old. Yeah, I get that they want to go to this whole you got to have a blueprint, you got to have a recipe for everything thing, but some of the stuff just is dumb. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and like I said, like even with the hunting, like if they made it like the evolution of hunting or something, it would make more sense. I mean, like you said, like they don't even do that in the game. They really don't. Like it's hinted at, but they haven't really gotten into that because, like I said, if you're a city person and you catch your first deer, there's a really good chance you're going to waste a hell of a lot of meat because you don't know what you're doing. That takes years. Yeah. Well, it takes experience to really get the most of what you're making.
Let me address something in the chat. Cynical Lindsay, because she says she's a console peasant. And I'll get your super chat here in just a second, Owen. Cynical says, exactly. Plus, we have the luxury of playing games from a comfy couch chair on a big screen TV. I play on a laptop, and I play reclined in a recliner, a comfy recliner. And if I wanted to, I've got patch cords where I could easily hook it to a big screen TV. So, yeah. I'm just messing with you, Lindsay. Thank you, Owen Harmon, for the donation. I do like that they've colored these now. It makes them a whole lot easier to spot. Only thing I learned at university was how to cook. Nearly starved in my first year. I was born to a woman that truly believed that it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl, you need to learn to cook. And you need to learn early. So from the moment that I was tall enough to be able to see down into the pans, because she didn't want me pulling the pans down and burning myself, right? From the moment I was old enough to see down, tall enough to see down into the pans, my mom was teaching me to cook. And that's why now I'm the cook of the family. If Mama Minnie's still out there, still in the chat, she'll tell you, I can cook.
My mom just basically used me as the peeler and the extra chopper. everything else, it was just like, I'm afraid you're going to add stuff to my recipe. And I'm like, I'm not going to do any of that, Mom. If you're worried about the seasoning, you can handle that. I can figure that out on my own.
Your boy Pat says, if there was ever a zombie apocalypse, who do you think would survive, country or city folks? Dude, it's not even a question, the country folks. Why do you think on The Walking Dead, everybody wants to follow the redneck?
Mm-hmm.
Because he's got it down. He's like, I got this. I know how to live in this world.
That's one of those things where I'm like proud that I've got a little bit of a heads up. Like, I mean, I don't know anything about the butchering, but my dad is still alive, thank God, and he's got books on everything in our basement. So I'm like, at least I've got somewhere to go to like reference information, and the rest is just hopefully he shares his experience if he lives. But I can still use a bow and arrow. Like, that's something I still know how to do. And yet again, he has all the equipment to make that kind of stuff. So I'm a
crack shot with a rifle. I can give you a pretty good spread in the bullseye with a rifle from a good distance. I know how to make stuff out of nothing because that's what we got to do. We rednecks are poor. We got nothing. So we got to make what we got work. You know, so we got a big leg up on the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. Same for things like fishing, and another one that my dad was into was different kinds of nooses. You know, little rope traps, things like that, because those can be really handy in winter when you're not really able to go out very often. Like if you know how to find like rabbit holes and things like that, you know. It's cruel, but it's something that you do because, you know, you might not get a chance at a deer, you know. But there's a lot of things.
You might have to lower your standards on what you're going to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, eat you some squirrels or rabbits, which those are good eating, folks, if they're fixed right. I've ate them both. Trust me.
Yep. You know what I mean when I say snares.
Or if you might even have to lower it some more, you know, shoot you a groundhog or a possum or something, you know, whatever's available. I could just see the city folk. Well, okay, where's the Starbucks? Ain't no Starbucks, folks. They're all closed.
And that's when they realize why so many Brits in the UK drink tea, because coffee comes from a very southern place.
I'm not real fond of possum either, Pat, but push comes to shove, in a pinch, you know you'd eat it. And that's what I'm saying. You might have to lower your standards sometimes and eat the things you might not normally eat. But there's a lot of stuff out there that's edible. We just don't like to eat them.
I'll be just entirely Canadian here and just point out that beaver is one of those ones that, like, you know, if you need to eat meat, you'll eat it, but it's a scary one because quite often they're diseased. So so another lowering of standards.
I mean, if I had to, I'd eat a freaking rat.
Yeah.
I wouldn't like it, but if it comes down to eating that rat or starving to death, I'm eating that freaking rat. I'm going to tell you right now. Maybe find me some taters and carrots to cook with it, you know, to make it a little more palatable. But, you know.
If you're lucky and the farmers in the area around your city are smart and they just open the barns for their cows, because at least then they'd get out. Yeah. Like, that's always the fear in an apocalypse. Like, and you look at Japan as an example, because they left those cows in the barns, so they starved to death. Yeah. And it was just like, if they'd had a few more seconds to open the barn doors, I mean, they'd still be probably really sick cows, but they would have lived longer, you know? And that's always the thing in an apocalypse. You don't know where people's minds are, if they're just fleeing without thinking, or, you know, because if you find a released cow, or, like, you know, somebody had a goat farm or something, you know, you take that and you learn how to use it.
Cynical Lindsay says, I'll become a pescatarian eating fish. I didn't think I knew that word, did you? Yeah, I'm smarter than the average redneck.
I think that's a little too low for my standards, Faithless.
This is, I've no problem fishing. Hunting, on the other hand, I don't know how I feel about that. You'd be surprised what you would do if it comes down to doing that or starving. I'm just saying. I get it. And you probably could sustain yourself on catching fish.
Yeah.
If you could find a good source of water. That's going to be one of the big problems right there, is finding a good source of water in the apocalypse.
Especially
You
our
know,
waters, because you'd be surprised at how many of them aren't doing as well as you'd think.
yeah, yeah.
Um, it's one of those things where like you look at the St. Lawrence in Quebec, and I'm going to pick on them because I have a grudge and I'm allowed to. But they throw so much sewage into their river. And this is probably a thing in certain places in the US where like nothing lives there anymore.
Well,
So
we've got a fair sized river that runs right through
yeah.
downtown Indianapolis here, and
Okay.
it's called the White River, and
Okay.
it is anything but.
Yeah. We have the Bow River. We have
It's
the Bow River.
it's brown as heck, and it ain't cause of mud.
I'm
I'll
sure
just
as a
tell you that.
fisherman you've heard of the Bow River. So when I say that one, I'm just like, yeah, I win.
I mean, they will tell you, flat out tell you, do not eat anything you catch out of the White River.
Oh.
Don't eat it.
Mm.
Yeah. So
The bow is different. Like I would say for the city line, you wouldn't want to fish there. Like it's just because you can't help people.
yeah.
But they do clean the waters once it goes outside of the city. So it's really good fishing. Like even if you're in the city, you can fish and you just re-release it. But once you get outside of the city where they've cleaned up the waters, yeah, it's
Well, I know people that'll eat fish out of the White River. I won't.
Yeah.
Because I know also that it runs right by the main sewage plant for Indianapolis.
Well,
I mean, right by it.
Well, I know people who eat brown-bellied trout, so
Yeah, they'll fish for catfish and for carp, and they'll eat that stuff.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't do it. But if I had to, if it came down to that or starving, yeah, I'd figure out how to get that mud vein out of that carp and eat it straight out the White River.
Yeah.
If I had to.
Yeah, and at least over time, at least the water would eventually clean itself.
Yeah. Once people stop polluting it.
Yep.
See, the problem is that the White River starts way further north than Indianapolis is. And it starts up past Bedford, Indiana. So by the time it travels down to Indianapolis, it's past many small cities and towns. So by the time it gets to Indianapolis, it's filthy anyway. So, and then I'm pretty sure we dump sewage in it. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But yeah, I bet you guys didn't know we'd be talking about the zombie apocalypse when you tuned in today, did you? You just never know. I've said it many times. You know.
Well, I think everyone at this point feels like we kind of already are. Like, I mean, the zombies might not be eating people, but sometimes, I'm looking around and I'm wondering if we aren't just surrounded by zombies because
there's so many people out there. So many people out there that could not take care of themselves if society broke down. They couldn't do it. They're too dependent on their Starbucks and their Chick-fil-A and people fixing their cars for them and sewing their clothes, and they don't know how to do anything.
Yeah,
because it's all done for them.
Yeah, even for sewing, I'm lucky with that. Like, I mean, I'm not good at it because I don't do it all the time.
I'm not.
But I still know how to.
I'm not a very good, what would you call it? Usually it's seamstress, but I'm not a stress. I'm a male. I'm not very good at sewing, but I can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I can. It won't look pretty when I'm done, but I can fix a tear, or mend a pocket, or sew a button on, or.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually be surprised if I wouldn't be good at it, because just because I don't necessarily do sewing doesn't mean like I haven't. I taught myself how to knit. I've also taught myself.
My mom taught me to knit.
I've done a little bit of cross stitch, and yet again, it's just one of those things. Like, it's with practice that you get good at it. I do have artist hands. Like, I have small palms and small fingers. So doing like small detailed work is actually something I'm fairly good at, which is why I'm a cook.
Pat says, and those are the ones I might end up tossing out at the zombies if they work my nerves. There you go. Here, have a free meal on me.
See, it got scary up here. Like I said, some of the people I've been following are kind of kooky, but they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you might want to start
You know,
investing in the rabbit huts. And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I don't think we're that bad off. I mean, we do have a hell of a lot of wilderness.
And I'm not advocating that we all should go out there and become survivalists, you know, and stockpile all this stuff and all that, blah, blah, blah. You know, there's people really into that. I'm not advocating that at all. But I think everybody should learn to do some of the basic things themselves, because there's so many people out there that can't do anything.
Well, I mean, all it takes is for you know a city to have a blackout for 2 weeks for people to really start freaking out, and it's like
if 2 weeks, watch people do without their electricity for 10 minutes and watch them cry.
Right?
I've seen it. You know, the lights go out, and I've had conversation with people and told them, you know, here in the Midwest, we're used to outages because we get severe weather, we get tornadoes, we get severe thunderstorms. It's a part of living here. Our power gets knocked out a lot.
Yeah.
And people say, well, what do? Well, you sit in the dark.
Yeah.
You know, we all keep candles because it's a common occurrence. So you buy candles, you keep them in the house, you go get the candles, you light them. That way you can see your way to the bathroom or whatever. Yep. And guess what? When the TVs don't work and the computers don't work and the cell phones run down and you can't look at them, guess what you're forced to do? Interact with people and have conversations. Isn't that a shock?
Yeah, I always have a bag full of tea lights, and I mean they're not the greatest, but I mean they'll work. And then I have like a couple of regular big candles, but you know it's also having a flashlight. I make it a point to have at least 2 or 3 flashlights, you know, so you have one in your room, one in like the kitchen.
We've probably got half a dozen of them here in the house, small ones.
Yeah,
you know, the little AAA battery ones.
Yeah,
which work fine.
Yeah.
And I've got one right here in hand's reach. Yeah. Can you hear that right there?
Yep.
There's a metal desk within hand's reach, and on the side of it is one of these little flat magnetic little flashlights. It's meant to be able to see your key, you know, when you got there to open the door, and you know, if you get there or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's handy as heck. I keep it right here next to me, you know.
Yeah, it's something I always keep because, like, you never know, and at least it gets you to where you know you've kept all your stuff. Because, like, obviously, I don't keep candles everywhere, but you know, I've always got dishes set up just in case I need to put a couple of these tea lights, and you know, you don't have to burn them all day. Like, you know, light up here. Okay, well, I might go to bed at like 8 or 9 o'clock if I don't want to kill all my candles. But honestly, you're gonna be bored for some of that. You might read some books, you might talk with people, you might play a board game or something, but
I know that my generation gets a lot of grief. Yeah. I mean, I'm a baby boomer. I'm a legit baby boomer. I was born in 1960. And I was when I was born, Dwight Eisenhower was president. Okay? So I'm a legit boomer. But it's now used as a bad name. I seen Pat talking about it earlier on Twitter. It's now used as a bad name. If you want to insult somebody on the internet, you call them a boomer. You know, so it's become, I don't know, somebody that's clueless or something. I don't get it. But I'm proud of my generation because in my generation, I spent time growing up before we had all these devices and all this stuff that does everything for us. So I had to learn the old way of doing things so I can do for myself if all that stuff goes away. You know what I mean? You still with me there, Jen?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
I was thinking about my first apartment living by myself. And it was one of those things where it was a basement suite, and I was probably 19 living there till I was about 24. And in hindsight, I'm like, you know, I always had this big flashlight that I always kept next to me. Because even though the area was good, I was always aware that my windows were just big enough for a slim enough guy to just sneak in.
Yeah.
So I always had this thing by my bed because we don't necessarily keep guns up here. Like some people do, like there are bad people in the world. So even Canadians might have the odd gun, but it's not standard. But I was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep this thing by my bed, and if I have to use it like a club on a motherfucker. But in hindsight, I was like, I really probably should have asked for bars on my windows.
Yeah, and I live in a bad neighborhood. I live in a redneck ghetto. Some of you laugh at that, like you don't think it exists, like only black people live in ghettos.
Yeah.
It's not true.
No.
It's
Oh
not.
no.
I live in a redneck ghetto. We're all very low income, renting where we live, cars out in the yard that won't run and, all that stuff. None of us got anything. And it's a bad neighborhood. There's some rough characters around here. And, I've had people messing around the house, knocking on windows at 3 or 4 in the morning to see if we're home so they can break in. Had somebody try to open my door at 1 o'clock in the morning because they didn't know I was sitting here, and they knew it when I jumped up. They were going to come in. So, yeah, I don't have a gun. And the reason I don't is my wife had her stepfather used to pull a gun on her and abuse her.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
So I get it. I understand. That's how she feels about it. So, I made that call a long time ago. I won't own any guns to keep in the house because they make her very uncomfortable. I get that.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you, I got knives. I guarantee you, my cane is going to put a serious knot on your head if I hit you with it.
Yeah. Oh, believe me, I was looking at every single item in my kitchen that I thought, a pan can very much be used to flatten a face. And, I don't know about the knife thing because, like, with a girl, if the guy wrestles that out of your hand, you're screwed. But anything with a long enough handle where you can get a reach, I was looking at it and like, okay, well, you know what? You might have to be shifty with it. But I wasn't in such a bad place either that, like, it's just like I said, a single girl by herself in a basement suite with like easy access windows in an area that was, I would say we were probably about 5 blocks away from what was a bad area. So like, you get the odd person.
I grew up here. I've been here most of my life. I mean, I've moved away a few times. I grew up here, so I'm an old school street fighter. And in old school street fights, there are no rules. You pull hair, you grab a hold of their nuts and twist them. Whatever you got to do. There's no cheating in street fighting. And, whatever you got to do. Folks, you don't want to walk up on me. Yeah, I'm an old guy and you could probably kick my butt, but I'm going to make you pay for it. Trust me.
I think the evilest I ever got, and I mean, it's not meant to be evil. It was just reactionary. But I at this point, I'd been working in a deli for long enough that I was both skewering chickens, which is kind of raw, and at the same time cleaning ovens. So I learned about this thing called oven cleaner, and that, the stuff that you buy off the shelf is just as bad as the stuff you use in the store. But I had this incident that scared me because there was this guy in the area who was a peeping Tom. He wasn't going into houses or attacking women. He was just, he would stand outside of your window and start diddling himself.
Yeah.
And so for someone who hadn't really had any experience with something like that, like, I mean, I called the cops, but I was like, what can I use to, really fuck with this guy? So I was like, you know what? Oven cleaner. He's going to have to run to the river to get that shit off. So I went into my cupboards under my sink and I pull this shit out and he looks at it and he runs off. And I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, come back.
Yeah. If and for those of you that don't know, oven cleaner is very caustic. It's like acid. There's a reason why it gets all that baked on crap off your oven.
Like I would have felt bad. But at the same time, though, I was like, motherfucker, if you're about to try to rape me, I'll melt the shit off of you.
Yeah. I mean, there just aren't any rules to street fighting. There isn't. There ain't none of these Marcus of Queensberry rules stuff. Nuh-uh, you do whatever you can. And I absolutely have faced a guy bigger than me in the past on more than a few occasions and grabbed a handful of nuts and gave him a twist. I'm not ashamed. I'll do it. I'll rip them suckers right off. and see how well you fight after that.
Well, like that's just it. Like at the time, like I said, I was very young, so like not Street Fighter at all. Um, I was at least a 45-minute drive away from my parents, so it was like I can't get help from my dad. Um, and I lived in a good neighborhood my whole life. I mean, most of the fights were between kids, so I mean, you just walk away from those if you're not involved. And if you're a good kid, maybe maybe you sneak a tattle or something. But I didn't get involved with any of that kind of stuff. So in terms of fighting, I had like maybe a month and a half of like martial arts training, and I was like, that's not gonna work in a real fight.
Well,
So
yeah, I'm not a boxer, I'm not. So I tend to try to get in real close and get a hold of you. And once I got a hold of you, that gives me a lot of options of things I can grab onto. I'll bite your ear off. I'll pull your hair. I'll choke you out. Don't let me get my legs around your throat because you're done.
Yeah.
And I've done that. I try to get in close and just latch on tight. If you guys have ever seen the Lord of the Rings movie, that's what Gollum did. He wasn't big, but he was killing orcs and living off of them before Bilbo took the ring from him. He was sneaking up on them and choking them out.
Yeah.
With a grip. So, yeah, little guys can take out the big ones. Yeah, if I get the throat, that's it. It's done. Exactly. You get a hold of somebody's throat, and they ain't going to do anything but try any way they can to breathe. And that's the first thing I usually go for is the throat. I'll punch you square in the Adam's apple, and you can't fight while you're choking for breath. There's lots of ways to get her done.
Like it was amazing how I'd mapped out the city too, because like I always lived on the outskirts, but just close enough that I could walk downtown if I needed to. And it was just because everything is so close there. Like I had a grocery store that was close by, so that's where I worked. So I would walk for maybe 20 minutes to get to work, and I'd just bring my groceries home on the days that I needed it. And then, I had jobs that moved downtown because that place flooded. But I ended up working at a Starbucks downtown, which is how I know that they fail with Starbucks so much, because the rules are so strict on how you're supposed to serve the coffee. Yeah. I know that they don't get that from slackers or people who don't know what they're doing. But it was very minimum wage, and I would have to get up at 3:30 in the morning, and it was like I could either wait for this bus or I could just walk downtown for 50 minutes. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to walk downtown and lose the weight at the same time. I ended up losing 40 pounds doing it. And, cool. It was not worth it. They will charge you $6 for a coffee, but that when I was working there, I was only making $9.30 an hour during a period of time where rent was like $850 a month.
Hey, jeez.
And that was cheap.
Well, here where I live now, it's only a 2-bedroom home. It's a very small home. Yeah. $600 a month is what we pay for rent. And yeah, it's not a great neighborhood, but I got a roof over my head. Yeah.
Well, the thing with Calgary is it was in a boom, yeah. So honestly, it was one of those things where I probably should have moved further out of the city, but everything, like I said, was so convenient downtown. If I'd had a roommate that I could trust, it would have been great because I would have easily been able to do it. But at the time, I was still in that whole independent, I like living on my own, and I don't eat a lot, so it was mostly just juggling my bills. Yeah. And then I got a job closer to where I was again, and it.
Well, like I said, I grew up here, and it's a rough neighborhood, and people fought all the time. It's constantly fighting. There's a saying that goes, and I almost said the name of my neighborhood, and that would pinpoint exactly where I live because everybody in Indianapolis is familiar with it.
Yeah.
But there's a saying that goes in this neighborhood, they fight themselves until somebody else from another neighborhood comes. Then we all band together and fight them. But there was always fighting. But I've always been a slight guy. I'm not going to box you, because I'm small. I didn't have a lot of weight to me. I've put on weight in my older years, but when I was younger. And so I always tried to get in close. And I remember there was a time when I was 15, the boy widely considered to be the toughest kid in the neighborhood, right? Supposedly put somebody in the hospital by beating him. Okay. Decided he was going to take it upon himself to start picking on me every chance he got. And I put up with it for a while, and I finally had enough, and I snapped, and I ran at him, football tackled him to the ground, wrapped my legs around his waist so he couldn't get me off, grabbed him by the ears, and started pounding his head into the concrete.
Whew.
And he's screaming, get him off, he's killing me, he's killing me. This is the toughest guy in the neighborhood. So, yeah, even a small guy can be a danger, you know. You just got to be willing to throw out all the rules, do whatever it takes. And I probably would have killed him if they hadn't pulled me off. You know, anyway, Cryptic says, I live in the south side of Chicago of Indianapolis. In a way, it's funny you say that, Cryptic, because when I worked at the limo company, there was a fellow that worked as the dispatcher at the same time as cashier, and our offices were connected, so we worked very closely together. And he actually grew up south side of Chicago. He had all the gang tattoos and everything, but he had got himself out of it, thankfully, to him. And he was a very fit fella, a lot of muscles, toned, very fit, obviously knew how to fight. There was a period of time when my car was broke down and he would drive me home. Now, this is a guy from the south side of Chicago, roughest neighborhood probably anywhere, right? While he's driving me home, his head's on a swivel. He's looking every which way, looking at people. He says, dude, I don't like it here. This is scary. I said, you're from the south side of Chicago and you're scared of my neighborhood? Oh, but anyway, I changed the subject a little bit. Earlier today, I was having a conversation with somebody on Twitter. It was just a short conversation. And they asked the question, what were the first records you ever bought with your own money? And I gave my answer and everything, and all of that. But my first, and where did you buy them? Well, my first records were bought at what we called a head shop, which were at their peak in the 70s when I was a teenager. They've all pretty much disappeared, although there is one still here in Indianapolis, but it's a shadow of its former self. Karma Records. It's nothing like it used to be. But my nostalgia kicked in. And I was like, so many of the younger people today don't, they buy their records offline. They're, well, not records anymore, or just download the songs or whatever. There's no experience to it. They just hit a button, spend a little bit of money off their debit card, and they got the music, right? In them head shops, and let me explain what a head shop is. You've probably heard the term, but you may not know. You walk in, the first thing you notice is the smell of incense. All of them burned incense. The lights are low. The rock and roll is blaring over the speakers. And you can, of course, buy all your, it's where the name head shop comes from, all your smoking needs, he says with air quotes. There's bongs, there's roach clips, there's toke stones, there's pipes, every paper you can imagine. There's all that stuff. But there's also a ton of T-shirts, novelty T-shirts, blacklight posters. You could buy the blacklights themselves, strobe lights, plus a ton of records, and this is in the days of vinyl. And it was an experience. You go and hang out, you talk with your buddies, you get to know the guys at the counter, you hang out there. It was just, I don't know. It was probably my nostalgia kicking in, but I was thinking, it was just so much fun. Even if you didn't buy anything, it was just so much fun to go there. And today, people today just buy their tunes offline. Don't even step out of their house. They're missing such a great experience that I used to have. I really miss that the head shops went away, because there wasn't just the big chains here in Indianapolis. There was a ton of little mom and pop head shops open up everywhere. They were, because they were just huge in the 70s.
Yeah.
And they had catchy names like Obadiah's or the Nickel Bag. Yeah, right.
Well, we had a few of our own, but for us, the problem with ours was the prices were ridiculous. Like sometimes, I mean, you could get a regular CD for like $12.99, but some of them would be like almost $20, $30, and unless you're getting like a disc set or something, when you're a kid, you're not really going to spend that much money on it. And they just kind of faded out a little bit. They're still there, but it's not the same. Like most people don't use CDs anymore. So,
hey, Michael Weiner, just glad you're here. Hey, work happens, man. Life happens. You got to take care of life. There is more important things to life than my streams and my content. I understand that. But yeah, it was just such a. You guys, if you never experienced it, you really missed something. Even if you didn't smoke dope or get high, it was just a great, fun place to hang out,
Yeah, it's like even with YouTube, when like I had a little backtrack to some old music, because I liked Heart a lot, but I never really bought their CDs when I was a kid. It was just one of those things where my mom was more likely to buy me Backstreet Boys, regardless of whether or not I liked them. But looking online, and I'm looking through all their songs, and I start listening to them. Like, oh yeah, I remember this. I used to, because my brother would listen to it. So I talked to him. I'm like, I'm just looking for songs that I remember, but I can't remember the names of.
Right.
And it's like I thought about it. Like HMV still exists, but like I hate their store because of, like I said, like they overcharge and.
One of the great things about going to those head shops is you could discover music that you hadn't heard before. Because here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
We had radio, of course. We had two big rock stations that competed in the 70s.
Yeah.
Now, one of them finally went under. One of them still exists.
Yeah.
We had Q95 and we had the Buzzard, and they both played rock and roll. The Buzzard would also add in some funk music, which I love, old school funk. But they would play the songs of the day, the hits and all that stuff, the rock and roll, it was the thing back then to be an album station. Late at night, they'd play an entire album, start on the first track, play it all the way through to the end.
Yeah.
And that was great. But they didn't play everything. They didn't play some of the side Bs. They didn't play every deep cut off the albums, right?
Yeah.
All the time. You go to these head shops and there'd be a song blasting because the guy behind the counter picked what he listened to. This wasn't piped in music. They had a setup in the back room where they were playing it,
Yeah.
And you come in like, what is it? I haven't heard that song. That's pretty cool. And they'd tell you, and you'd go buy the album.
Yeah.
I can't count how many bands or songs I got introduced to just by hanging out in the head shop, looking at t-shirts or blacklight posters. My room was covered in blacklight posters, trust me. And I had a blacklight and I had a strobe light.
Yeah.
But
that's just it. Like when you look on YouTube for videos or like the music and stuff, you're only really going to see the top songs. Yeah. And I mean, it was nice because I saw other bands that I remember listening to who, I'd forgotten over the years. But, you build a list of that on YouTube and you're stuck with like a billion ads because that's how they work. And it's, you miss out on all the other songs on the album, unless you've got like hardcore people who post everything on the album somehow. And
by the way, the first album, now I had an album that my mom and dad had bought me for Christmas in 75, I think. And it was one of those old, they don't do this anymore, but compilation, right? You may be old enough to remember the new from K-Tel. Sounds of Rock, and it'd be like several different artists.
Yeah.
This was one by Warner Brothers. It was called Heavy Metal. It was actually quite one of the better ones and very popular. It was a double album. I had that. But my answer was the first ones I bought with my own money. It would have been 1976 when I was 16 years old. I bought 4 albums, 3 Aerosmith albums. I bought their first album, which sometimes is called Dream On, but that's not actually the title of it. It does have Dream On the record, but that's not actually the title of it. But it doesn't have any title; it's just self-titled. I bought that one. I bought Toys in the Attic by Aerosmith, and I bought Rocks, and I bought Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody, the A Night at the Opera album. That's my answer. That was in 76, and I bought those 4 albums in one shot. I'd saved up my money. So, anyway, in case anybody was interested, maybe you don't care.
No, I do.
No, I wasn't talking to you. I was talking to chat. Yeah, it was such an experience. It's one of the things I know us old guys, we're all about, in my day and being nostalgic, but there really are things that happened when I was younger that no longer happen today, that it's a shame that they're gone because they were just great experiences, Well,
I mean, yeah, I'm going to bring up Heart again, but can you really compare any of today's female artists to either of those ladies?
Ann and Nancy Wilson, big Heart fan.
Yeah, in any terms of talent, in terms of the amount of instruments they know how to use and the range of voice that they still currently have.
Well, she is considered, and I always get the two mixed up, which one's Ann and which one's Nancy. I do. But the blonde that plays the acoustic guitar is considered one of the best acoustic rock guitarists ever. Yeah. Not just female, just ever.
Yeah. She's amazing. So
yeah.
I'm just we don't really have that kind of thing anymore. And don't get me wrong, the computer music is amazing. The range that you can get on those is amazing. But the hand to guitar thing, I'd like to see that more.
And yes, Michael Weiner, there are other ladies that rock and roll, but
that's just my example for
right. and that's and speaking of, that is one instance where I have to say thank you to Canada, because Heart was trying to get popular and they couldn't get a fan base here. And then they went and toured Canada, and Canada latched onto them like glue. Mm-hmm. And then when they come back to the States, they came with that momentum from Canada, and that's when they hit it big. So Canada helped put Heart on the map. Thank you.
Well, I mean, out here we're really different from you guys in terms of the culture. A lot of the hard rock, I grew up with a lot of it. It's just my dad, he doesn't really like loud music. He's got sensitive hearing. So for him, it was just, he used to listen to, quieter music. And then my mom, on the other hand, was more into current day pop at all times.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong. I get into a lot of what you would consider quieter music, even in rock and roll. Mm-hmm. I love Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, old Neil Young albums. Asian Hippies' first album I bought myself was Now Don't Laugh, Doris Day's greatest hits. I'm not going to laugh. Doris Day was a great singer. Great singer. I have very wide musical taste. There's very little I don't like. Mm-hmm. Hip hop is one thing I don't like, and I've tried hip hop and rap. I just can't. I can't. I just can't. There's just something about it that makes me a nervous wreck. I hear it, and my nerves immediately go up. I'm just I don't like this, and I'm not a real big fan. My mom listened to Muzak, elevator music. And yes, we had a radio channel that played just that. And her radio was always set to that.
Well, my brother was making fun of me because a lot of the times when I'm just playing a game, I'll listen to background music from either games or movies that had really good, theatrical music. And it's just one of those things that I do if I'm building something. I like to have like an epic mindset. And I told him, like, if you're playing Minecraft and you're wanting to build some kind of like really epic castle, and you're playing something that's like horror to horror, you're gonna have a different look at what you're building, right? As opposed to something that's a little bit happier, you know. Um, so sometimes I do that, but I like different music for different settings, you know. It's one of those things where like I take a lot of inspiration from music. So like if I'm playing something in the background, I can't listen to people and listen to certain songs because the song will take, you know, my attention away entirely.
Right. Well, I'm very music oriented, and
Yeah.
and I will get into a song. And if somebody's talking to me, I won't hear them because I'm listening to the song. You know, it's just music plays a very big role in my life and always has. Very musically oriented. Cannibal Caretaker says I can't do hip hop or rap because for some reason it gives me a headache. It's the same with me, man. It doesn't necessarily give me a headache, but it makes me nervous. I listen to it, I immediately feel nervous. I just not my thing. If you guys like it, hey, good on you, but I can't listen to it because it just makes me feel bad. I don't like it, the way that it makes me feel.
I think the one thing with rap is like if it's done in like a poetic setting, like somebody's just speaking in that rhyme, I don't have a problem with it.
Well, see, that's the thing. I don't feel like rap is music. Is it an art form? Yes, it is definitely an art form. But to me, I don't feel like it's music, you know? But it is definitely an art form, you know? And it's not because I'm old, folks. Rap started in my late teens. You know, it's a branch off of funk. And the first few rap songs come out in the late 70s. So, yeah.
Yeah, the only I mean, I've like I said, there's always the odd song from every genre that I don't have a problem with. Overall, I'm not really a big fan of rap, but my ex roommate was one of those half Hispanic, half white girls who's really into black culture. So she was really into the whole "I'm a ghetto girl," la la la. So she would listen to a lot of like crappy rap music.
Yeah.
So
now don't get me wrong. There's some of it that I can tolerate, and you guys would laugh at it like, well, that's not really rap, but it's as close as I can get. You know, like MC Hammer, old school Will Smith. You know, that stuff. I can tolerate that. You know, but yeah, and beyond that, nope. But I've done pretty well. I look at the time, but it's come time. I'm gonna have to go to the.
Oh, you're doing great. Yeah, go ahead.
And so I'm gonna have to leave the stream in your hands for a few minutes.
All right. Well,
carry on. I'll be right back.
I'll do my best. All right, guys, ask me questions. Keep me going. Damn it, where's Cryptic? Yeah, I know he left. I mean, I could have told him about the stuff I said on Twitter, but he's probably read it at some point. What showed? Hip hop music. Yeah, I don't, like I said, I've kind of avoided the radio for a really long time. Like I used to switch back and forth. Like I'd listen to like old pop, sometimes new pop, and then sometimes I'd go to old rock, and then I'd try the current rock. And I'm not really into the heavy metal just because like it's a little too heavy for me. But like I said, there's every genre has something where I'm like, yeah, that's okay. I liked that. You know, certain groups better than others. It's just my my radio station CJ92 was my favorite for the longest time, and then Nickelback birthed itself from my province, and they were like, so every half an hour we're gonna play a song from every single one of their albums, and it's just overplayed because they're supporting Canadian artists, and I'm like, I support that, but can you like space it out like a lot more? So I just stopped listening to the radio in general. So I listen to whatever's on, you know, whatever people recommend, or like I said, I go into weird kicks. Like I'll listen to like, I don't know. Let's go through my list of stuff. Shit. All I have to do is go into my search here. I'll pick the weirdest ones, okay? I'll tell you which weird shit I listen to, but some of it's not bad. Okay. If I can find it. Oh my gosh, I've been listening to a lot of stuff. Holy crap. Maybe not. This is taking any longer than it is. Nope. Nope.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, you're back. That's good. I was looking at songs that I've been listening to, and like I can't remember the artists. I was like, which weird ones? I'm like, oh, I'm right. I've saved some of them. So I listened to like this guy who does like background music, Ivan Torrent. Most Epic Music is the guy who hosts it, but Audio Machine. I do a lot of Audio Machine. They're really good.
Yeah. Cannibal Caretaker says, I like Nickelback. Dude, I'm with you. I'm not on that train, the hate Nickelback train, and I actually don't understand it.
For me, like I said, for me, it's just overplayed. Like
I think they have some good music, and there's one song that I just really, really like. But hey, all you need. I don't get all the hate for Nickelback, but
for my province, it's really just like I said, like CJ92. Every half an hour, you're playing one song from like every album, and it's all day. So when you get that on your classic rock station, and it's like that on a lot of the stations too. Like they'll just overload you with the Canadian guys, and it's like that's fine. I respect that.
They're Canadian. we get the same thing here, in a sense. You've heard of John Cougar.
Yeah.
And he's got some great songs, but John Cougar's a Hoosier boy. He's from Indiana. So he gets played a lot on our radio stations to the point where if I ever hear Jack and Diane again, I'm going to puke.
Yeah.
But hey, Negersol, quick stop by to hit the hit like and poof, I'm gone again. Guess you're busy. Yeah, see you. Have a good time. But I understand that because we get the same thing with John Cougar. Great artist, got some great songs, but he is so oversaturated here in Indiana because he's a Hoosier boy, so they play the heck out of it. And
like it's the same with people like Celine Dion. Like, don't get me wrong, her older stuff is better. Her French stuff is a lot better actually than her English stuff. And
yes, Michael Weiner. I'm pretty sure it was Seymour. Yeah.
But between the radio station and my mom, I can't listen to Celine Dion without wanting to pull my hair out because, like, she's not untalented. It was just so blown out everywhere all the time. And, like, my mom probably killed my dad a little bit internally because, like, we had these stereos both in the car and in the house where you could load in, like, 5 to, like, 8 CDs. So she would have, like, everything in, like, Celine Dion and that kind of genre. And it would be one after the other, after the other, after the hour. You do that for like a year or two, and you're twitching.
Well, my wife does not listen to the same music that I do. I'm a rocker. I'm a headbanger. I'm and have been from the beginning. I mean, I was, it was the 1970s. I was doing Black Sabbath. I was doing Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, all that. I was a headbanger before they even had the term headbanger, and she was more the Carpenters.
Yeah, my mom.
And stuff like that. And she'll put on that radio station because we've got one of those here too. And listen to it. And I can only listen to so much till I'm like, can I change the station, please? Please. or I'll go to sometimes she'll get tired and she'll drop by here when she's picking my daughter up from work and swing by here on her way because we don't live far off the path. Can you go ahead and take her on home because I'm getting really sleepy and I need to sleep before work tonight? Oh, okay. And I'll get in and they're listening to some pop station, modern pop. And I'm like, back. Can I change the station, please? Which brings up the other thing. I switched it to Q95, which is the local station to listen to. It's the home of Bob and Tom, of the Bob and Tom Morning Show. If you guys have ever heard that's where it's broadcast from, Q95, right here in Indianapolis. We actually get a longer show than you guys get because they do a lot of local parts of it before it goes live. But anyway, it's supposedly a classic rock station, but they've now taken to playing 90s music along with the 70s and some 80s. And I was taking my daughter home the other day, and she says, "Wait a minute, since when does Q95 play the Red Hot Chili Peppers? Because that's what was playing." I'm like, "Well, they made a change. I guess it's classic rock now." But
yeah, I don't hate the concept of that Jedi Ghost Bear. Like I said, like it's not like she's not talented. She's not for everybody. I understand why some people don't like her range, just because that's kind of how it is with that, you know. She does a lot of high pitched notes, and not everybody can tolerate that kind of range. And her music is very similar to like her songs are pretty much written for her. But like I said, her old stuff was a lot better, and her French stuff is a lot better because she doesn't use that high range the entire time. She actually has a multitude of ranges. It's just overplayed for me. So, you know, I wouldn't hate listening to a Linkin Park lineup with her because the concept is good. It's just whether or not they worked with her range. And if she worked with her range, because she's kind of gone the way of Mariah Carey. Like, I don't hate her either. Like, I respect talent where it's there. It's like, you know, it's not for everybody. That style's not for everybody. But when you have like, you know, ranges of notes that you can use with your throat, that's actually pretty awesome. Yeah. You know, it's like ventriloquist. Like, you know, when you can go from one voice to another voice to another voice to another voice, like, you know, but with Mariah Carey, like she was just so set on doing those high notes that like the music just became so shitty.
Yeah, I get you.
Like,
but I've, you know, it's always been a bit of a source of tension in my house because my wife and I's musical tastes are so different. So different, you know. She would probably do Celine Dion and Mariah Carey, and she's into those a cappella bands that are big on YouTube. What are their? Oh, there's one that's really popular. She's actually went to their concerts, you know. And like, I don't mind their music once in a while, but I can't listen to a lot of it.
Yeah.
Before I'm going, dadgummit, I gotta hear some rock and roll.
Yeah, right. I'm kind of the same. It's like I said, like I'll acknowledge talent where it's there, but it's not something I want to listen to for a long period of time.
Pentatonics. That's what I was trying to think of. That she's went to see Pentatonics a couple times.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah. They're like I said, they're actually really talented. Yeah.
I'm not taking away from it, and I do enjoy some of their work. Yeah. One of my guilty pleasures on YouTube, I'm telling on myself a little bit here, is I subscribe to Lindsey Sterling. For those of you that don't know Lindsey Sterling, you probably will when I explain it. She's this little sprite of a gal that plays a violin and dances at the same time. And I really like her stuff. I do. But after a while, I got to listen to some rock and roll. Yeah. Just to clean the palate.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a range of music because, like, it's especially if you're into music. Like, it's one of those things where if I could go back in time and actually pick up an instrument and actually work harder at learning it, I kind of would do that. Not necessarily, you know, because I can sing a little bit, but with the amount of smoking I've done over the years, I can't hold a note for long enough to do it professionally. But like I look back on it, and it's just like, yeah, I miss the you know, the range of talent. Like, I'm not saying we don't have it. I find it's lost in a lot of the programmings. You know, I sound like an old fart. I'm like, get off my lawn. Not as much as you, blood, but you know, it's one of those complaints I had with art class, and it was just like when you're not making mistakes on paper, you're not learning new tricks, and it's the same with music. If you're not playing and tweaking with instruments, you're not making those mistakes that give you new sounds. And when it's all translated to a computer, you know, you're still using what everybody else is using. So like it's still valid. It's still good music. And don't get me wrong, I'm not showing any flack to the people who do good retracts.
Oh, I don't diss any kind of music, even if it's some kind that I don't like.
Yeah.
You know, as long as it's now, I think a lot of the music today is lazy, and I don't count that in because it's all electronified and auto-tuned and all that crap. And that's just, you know, people don't play their own instruments and blah blah blah. You know, I'm not into that. But if you're a legit musician and you're trying to make music, I don't diss it, even if I don't like it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I'm the same now. Like it's even on YouTube because there's people who do videos, or like I don't know if they do them anymore, but they would legit play their own instruments, you know, and I show them a lot more respect quite often. Like if they're good, I'm like, hey, you know, like keep at it, because like I said, those little mistakes in sound.
Yeah, John Connor, I agree. Same here. Bluegrass to heavy metal. And actually, I've actually termed bluegrass, and I don't really care for country, especially modern country. I went through a country phase, but it's not my favorite. I can listen to some of it. But I term bluegrass as being the heavy metal of country. I mean, seriously, if you listen to it, there's a lot there. It's very busy music, and there's a lot there, and I like it. Love bluegrass, but very wide musical taste. I mean, I like big band music, love blues music, you know, classical. I love my favorite classical composer is Tchaikovsky. You know, I just a very wide musical taste myself. But I was raised, and my mother actually told me this: you do not turn your nose up at any music until you give it a try. You don't, you know, and that's the way I've always tried to approach it. So, Bloodwing, have you seen the bluegrass version of Thunderstruck? If you watch the last real video I did, you know, it actually ends with that. You're talking about what is this? And see something and seagulls. Yeah, I've heard it. I actually have it and used it in one of my videos. So. What is it? I hate my I hate my old man memory. Hold on a second, and I will tell you. Steve and Seagulls, yeah, is who does that. And thank you for the super chat. Or is it? Yeah, there we go. Willingham. My chat really jumped on me there. You should listen to Upchurch. He does country and country hip hop. I mean, I would listen and give it a chance, but if it's hip hoppy, I'm probably not gonna like it too much. RVA Dark Modern Country is 80s pop. Yeah, it's got so poppy, you know, sounding that it's lost its edge, you know, to me. That's just my opinion. Of course, I grew up, my dad listened to old school country and Western. That's when it was still called country and Western. It wasn't just called country, you know, like really old school stuff, you know, the whiny, you know, 40s and 50s country, even into the 60s. So that's what my dad was always listening to when I was growing up. Uh, Not Steven Seagal, really. No, it's Steve with an N. It's Seagulls, but I'm sure it's a play on his name. And yes, I know you're messing with me, Faithless. Yeah, anyway, Johnny Cash, Carter Farmer, Chris Christopherson, Roger Miller. That was the heyday of country, in my opinion. Yes, there were some big artists earlier than that, you know, Hank Williams. Good grief. You can't take away from Hank Williams what he did for country music. I mean, he just, you couldn't have had that country without Hank. And, Dad listened to that and several others. But the 60s into the 70s was the heyday for country music. It really was, in my opinion. Okay. Music is very subjective because you like what you like and you don't like what you don't like. So you're allowed to disagree. Yeah, when I went through my country kick deck train, it was Garth Brooks. Garth Brooks and oh boy, there goes my old man memory again. I've got the CD in the other room, but I don't want to get up and go look for it. He done a remake of long haired fella. He'd done a remake of Elvis Presley's song Trouble. Somebody in the chat might be able to tell me what his name was. I can see his face right in my mind, but I can't think of his name. That's terrible. I hate having an old man memory sometimes. I'm so bad with names, so terrible with names.
Yeah, I've always been bad with names. It's not an age thing for me. I'm good with faces. Like I could like recognize somebody that I haven't seen in 10 years, 20 years, but
yeah.
Their name, I'll just be like, you know what? It's just blank. Yeah. It's all right. It's not that I don't care about you or anything. It's just blank, gone.
Yeah. My dad, Beth Castleman's, my dad had played ragtime when I was a kid. I like some ragtime. Yeah. I mean, legit music. I can respect legit music. If you're trying to play your own music, and you really are an artist and you're talented and everything, I have respect for you. Mm-hmm. And I'll listen to your music. Unfortunately, so much of today's music is so overdubbed and auto-tuned and electronic music, they don't even play their own instruments, that it's hard for me to respect that. And, it's like, and it all sounds the same to my ear. One pop song sounds like the next. That's my opinion. Gosh, I wish I could remember that artist's name. If I hadn't set my keyboard down, I put it in the floor, and I don't want to get I'm lazy. I'd look it up before the stream ends. But have I ever heard microtonal music? I don't know. I may have. No, it's not Dwight Yoakam, although he was popular at about something. This fellow was, and he often done songs with Marty. Oh gosh, and I can't think of his last name either. Another long-haired country boy. But about the same time that Garth Brooks was big, he was hitting it pretty big tonight. Tonight, I was reading your tweet to Jack Gutsky and tonight snuck out of my brain there. he was big at about the same time. Anyway, I really liked his music. Anyway, but we are down to the end of the stream, and it's at this point that I always thank you guys for coming out, spending your day with me. There's lots of other things I know that you could do. Other than hang out with me, but you choose to do that, and I appreciate it. It's not lost on me. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Jen, for coming in and helping me out to give me somebody to bounce off of. I mean, I could talk for days, but I feel I work better if I've got somebody to bounce off of.
Yeah, no problem.
So thank you. I think you kind of helped save the stream.
Well, I always like hanging out with you anyway. So, and I mean, we bounced through some good conversations there.
Well, yeah.
I'm sorry I surprised you with the game thing, but I was just like, oh, you played it. But like I said, I leave you guys alone when you're playing your games because, like I said, I know that you.
I don't. No, don't be afraid. I don't mind if somebody hits me up. It's not that. It's just when you start getting half a dozen. And, there's no explanation, no text with it, just an invitation to play a game. You know, and like, leave me alone. I'm playing what I want to play right now, and I just want left alone to play my game.
Oh, believe me, I've been taunted by a guy I used to watch because he's been playing Ark again on YouTube, and I watch his videos. I'm like, God damn it! If it didn't kill my computer, man. And then I'm thinking like, oh man, I miss playing with Bloodwing, and I miss playing with Stars, and I miss playing with Functional and Cryptic, who never played. But yeah, no. Yeah, thanks for having me anyway.
Not a problem. And you know what? This is bugging me. I'm going to have to look this up, even if it means the stream goes late. Travis Tritt. Boy, how did I not remember his name? Oh, Travis Tritt. I really loved his music. Still do. I've got a couple of his actually. But anyway, yeah. Now that I've got that off my head, is there anything you want to shout out, Jen? Or
well, I was going to be kind to Jack Gunsky and give him a shout out because he does his Quiplash tonight. So he does usually about an hour and a half to 2 hour stream after Lords of the Night on the Jack Gunsky channel. And I'll probably watch him. I don't know if I'll be invited on, but if he wants to, I'll join him.
Lindsay, anytime you want on, just ask, sweetheart. I'll invite you. I'm not opposed. I don't know if you went on or not, you know, unless you tell me. But yeah, as for me, oh, I'm sorry. Was you finished?
Oh no, I was just like patting myself on the back because I don't mind chilling for people in the chat. If you've got stuff going on and I know about it, then you know. Sorry.
No, you're fine. As for me, the next Redneck Radio, as far as I know, you know, don't know with this job situation hanging out. It's kind of got me hanging. You can do that's perfect. Saturdays is tough for me to come up with a guest host, Cynical, and maybe we'll do that. Send me a DM on Twitter, and that way it's easier for me to find you than looking through the whole list of people that have DM'd me. You have no idea. You have no idea. But yeah, as far as I know, the next Redneck Radio will be Thursday at 2:30 Eastern. Now we're in standard time, so it's okay if I say that. And look for the premiere of episode 20. This one, I'm pretty sure, will be an epic episode, people. Episode 20 of Redneck Track. So at 5:30 on Sunday. Anyway, we are past time. I am talked out. I'm losing my voice. So until then, get out of my yard.
Have a good one, guys.